If you're
Never
over
mind.
there,
Let's just go.
we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget to go find us on the Instagram and Twitter and check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. You ready?
Sure.
All right. We got movies to talk about. Yeah, that's us. Go find us. Go talk to us. Go say hi. Send bubbles and hearts and that's not what I wanted. Go send bubbles and hearts and likes and stars and thumbs ups and share everything. There you go. This is just so loud. Why am I so loud?
You're always loud.
Oh well.
You're a loud human being.
My bad. All right. Post it. Done. Okay, so the camera I think looks weird. I'm sorry. I'll figure it out. No idea what's going on. Who knows? It's crazy. All right, babe. What movie do you want to talk about?
Start us off. You go wherever you want to go first.
Fine. I will pick what I want. I don't know, man. There's so many things to say. Which one do you want to talk about? You tell me. What do I have to pick?
Because I told you to.
I'm not ready to pick one. You would just talk about that then?
Sure.
Let's just go in that order. Here we go. All right. Tell me, babe, what is this movie?
It's about a man that gets an outfit.
Oh, fancy.
Goes to a fancy party and then the movie's over.
Okay. I don't think that's what it's about.
It's called The Outfit.
It's a man that makes suits.
This is the prequel to Jesus and the Technicolor tuxedo, whatever the hell that thing's called.
Technicolor Dreamcoat.
That's stupid. Whatever it is.
It is.
It's ridiculous. Movie The Outfit. It's I guess it's kind of a noir kind of vibe. It's a criminal thriller, whodunit
mystery
kind of thing. It's about I think it takes place in the 50s,
and
it's about a tailor who runs his shop, and there's like this mysterious box that clearly shady people come in there and drop off envelopes and things, and he just minds his business. They just literally use his shop for things, and then some shady business happens and he gets pulled into it, and then there's who's against who and who's done this and who's a rat and blah blah. You get like mob and attachments and love stories, and the whole movie takes place in this one location.
Yes, which is really cool.
So it's interesting because it even though it's not, it's played. It's one that easily could be like a stage production, and it's a lot of monologue type dialogues, where long wits. The movie stars Mark Rylance, who's always awesome.
Is that the older man?
That is the lead older man, yes.
Love him.
Excuse me. Dylan O'Brien, who I like. Zoe Deutch. Deutch.
Isn't it Dutch?
Deutach. I don't know. It might be Dutch, but I'm going to say Deutch.
She's the daughter of what's her name, right? That's her, isn't it? Or am I making that up?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The lady from Back to the Future.
What's her name?
The lady from Back to the Future.
Leah Thompson?
Yeah.
Maybe she is.
What's her name, Zoe?
Zoe Deutch. The Deutch. Johnny Flynn, Nikki, Amuka Bird, and Simon Russell Beale is who is in this film. And it's from the writer of The Imitation Game, Graham Moore, who also wrote and directed this one. But it's an interesting movie because, like, from the trailer, it's one of those that
yes,
I was intrigued by it, but I was worried it was going to be kind of dull. And ended up being, it's not an exciting movie.
I thought it was exciting,
but it's not exciting like action packed. No, but like this. It's just a lot of
dialogue. It's
fun dialogue.
The dialogue and trying to figure out what's going on and who's with who.
Who knows? How much does he really know? How much is he involved?
I was immediately enthralled by this movie. I kept telling you I want to see this movie because I see the man making his suits and all that, and he's got his scissors like, and I was like, I'm in. I don't even know what's going to happen, but something's going to happen with those scissors.
I love Mark Rylance anyway.
I don't know who he is. I'm sure I do, and I don't know that I do.
He was the BFG
amazing
in the movie The BFG.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you never watched that.
I did not watch that.
Such a great movie.
I know you and the kids watched it.
No, I watched it by myself.
Oh, did you?
Yes. I don't believe in the children any longer.
Wow. Okay, then.
Anyway, It is. It's an interesting movie.
It's really good.
It's got a lot of twists and turns. Some of it you can see coming, but it's the execution that really makes it work, and then the interesting direction it ends with, and kind of how it's all played out. It's one of those movies that's hard to review because it's hard to really say anything without spoiling it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just really good, intriguing. And the people that are coming in and out of the shop are kind of shady. I don't want to tell you what they're involved in or what they're doing.
Eminem doesn't show up.
And we don't even really know all the details of everything they do until later on in the movie. It slowly becomes one of these stories that unravels itself with each character that kind of comes in and out of the shop when something major happens. And then you find out kind of like who's been putting money in the box and who this is and who this group is.
Yeah, and there's like notes and there's different things, and
I got something in my eye.
You don't know who's doing what, and there's even like some twists, which there's elements where somebody that did something because it was obviously you watch it happen, but then you're baffled why
there's an eyelash in my eye.
You're baffled why, okay, well, why is this person lying about it now? Because now they're getting themselves in trouble. But then there's more to it.
Bless you.
Sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Bless me.
Bless you. I said bless you.
But even even the decisions, there's new twists to that makes it even more interesting. But I really dug this movie. This movie might fall on one of my favorites of the year.
I did too. It's one of those. It's like you said. It's not over the top actiony, and it's a talkie. There's a lot of dialogue. But throughout each character that comes in, you start getting the story, and you even get the full story of this man who we don't really know, like why he's here and why is this girl working there? Because typically the person that would be working there would be the person that's going to be your apprentice. And she flat out says, I have no interest in learning this or taking over. And, he kind of get through the story that he doesn't have a son to leave it to. So I think he was wanting her to fill that space of a child. And it becomes this whole big thing. And then I feel like he even like lives there because he's there all the time. And he's so
he does. He clearly lives above it or somewhere there. Yeah. The way it's laid out.
And, throughout the story, he's telling you, okay, to make the perfect suit, it's not just about measuring. It's about the look. It's about the feel. It's about the fit. It's about the work that they do, the way they walk, and how they're going to be using it and the way the material hangs. So it's interesting because you're learning this, but he's comparing that to actual life and these people that he's surrounded by. So it's actually really interesting and intriguing. So if you missed this one or you were just unsure, I would recommend that you watch it. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, and I believe I think it's just in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's in theaters. It's opened up last week. Oh no, it opened up Friday. Sorry,
this Friday.
So it should be in any theater open nationwide. It's not one that's unavailable to, but it's a different kind of movie. So if you're wanting to support movies, this is kind of one of those movies that you should go support.
Yeah, for sure.
Stop watching Batman and Spider-Man every week and watch this movie.
This guy's been watching every single Batman movie. And I hear it up there, I'm like, da, 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 whatever, however the music goes.
Whichever one. I was just watching Batman and Robin the other day.
I don't know. It's because it's all kind of the same Batman theme. What I did not hear was Prince singing anywhere. So
because I'd already watched that one.
I missed it
the other day.
I missed that.
That's only the first movie.
I know, but that was the best part of his song. Everything else.
That's the thing that annoys me the most about that movie.
Really?
The Prince music. Because I love Prince, but I hated that he did the soundtrack for that movie because there's elements that are good. There's other elements that are just ugh. And it annoys me. When I get into superhero movies, I actually much rather the big orchestration kind of thing. Yeah, the big Prince. Like I said, I don't need to be hearing Prince singing. I'm sorry. I'll listen to Prince singing separately from my Batmans.
Okay.
The only time I think Prince really works in that movie in the first Batman is when he's doing the parade and they're playing the music because it fits the scene.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't need Prince playing during the destruction of a museum or anything of those crap. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'm sure people will start attacking me for that, but guess what? I don't care.
Like you go ahead. You're free to have your own opinion. He already tried to fight me today.
I told the lady at the gas station I was going to smack you.
Wow.
She looked at me like this. I was like, if she doesn't smack me first, then she kind of laughed.
Anyways, let's just move on to the next movie, friends.
The outfit's in theaters now. You should really check it out. It's a great movie.
All right. Where do you want to go? We have these.
I don't care. Just go in line. You said you were going to go in order.
Oh,
Or jump
okay.
over. Or
No, we're just. I haven't thrown it up. Are you okay?
I don't care unless you want to go over to the one that's the older movie that we just watched on 4K.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So one of the other ones that she didn't realize she hadn't seen, I wasn't sure
Which
she had saw.
I don't know how this is possible that I missed something with
especially
Marky
when-
Mark in
And
it.
especially when this came out, this was before you started having your conflictions about it. This
Before
was
I
back
didn't
when you were
really
still
care
like,
for him.
Marky
Yeah.
Mark. But it's the movie The Shooter.
I'm like this now with Marky Mark.
She's dumb. But it's Mark Wahlberg, a movie directed by Antoine Fuqua, who, if you're just dumb
Such a
and don't know who
beautiful
Antoine
name.
Fuqua is, he did Training Day, did The Equalizer. He did a bunch of really cool stuff. I love Antoine Fuqua. He did.
I just love his
he,
name.
he did the Magnificent Seven redo.
The new one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love his work. So I hadn't watched this film since it came out. So they're just putting out a 4K Steelbook edition for the film. I think it's 15th anniversary or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or might be a 20th
It's
anniversary.
15th.
Is it 15th?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay. But you had said you didn't remember seeing it. So
I
we
did
watched
not.
it. So if you don't know about the movie, it's about an ex-sniper who a mission goes bad. So he kind of goes off to secluded lands and he gets pulled back in and then the mission goes awry.
There you go.
It's essentially the same, kind of the same idea as Commando with Schwarzenegger. Did you never watch Commando?
I must
What?
have missed that too.
With
What?
him and Alyssa Milano?
What?
She plays his daughter. And you've never seen
No.
Commando?
We'll have to watch
We're
it tonight.
freaking watching Commando because Commando's got the best scene where he holds a guy over the cliff by his leg.
Oh.
And the whole time he's like, I'm going to kill you last. And he's holding him over the cliff. The guy goes, you said, he goes, remember when I told you I'd kill you last? He goes, yeah, that's right. She goes, I lied. And he dropped him off the thick cliff. It's such a great movie.
I've never seen this. We're gonna have to watch
That's
it.
one where he paints his body with a black stripe and he uses an M60 that never runs out of bullets. Like he shoots and you see the chain of bullets getting smaller. And the next scene they're long again. And then smaller and then long again. It's the greatest. Anyway, have you seen people's cell phones that have this thing and it has the Schwarzenegger thing and he's holding the big thing on his shoulder and they're using this like it's a rocket launcher?
Maybe
That's
so.
from Commando.
Okay.
We're watching Commando tonight. I'm so excited to watch Commando tonight. Anyway, Shooter
I'm glad.
Shooter also spun off a TV series with Ryan Phillippe that I think did 2 or 3 seasons. So anyway, so I really, really love this movie. I thought it was a great action thriller flick, whatever. But I hadn't watched it since it came out. You hadn't seen it at all. So
I had not seen this, and I don't know how that's possible because
it's also got Danny Glover.
back in the day, 15 years ago, I probably would have been a fan of Marky Mark.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
This also has Danny
the
Glover
Funky
and Ned
Bunch.
Beatty. Got a lot of people. Michael Pena.
Yes, I love me some Michael Pena.
So what did you think of the film?
I really enjoyed this movie. I don't know how this one got by me, but it's one of those kind of government intrigue, crazy movies. And Mark Wahlberg's good in this role. I mean, as the soldier, kind of on the run, crazy things are happening, and it was so good. I really liked this.
And this one, he even gets pissed off. Someone killed his dog before John Wick did.
Yes.
Because it happens in this movie
And
too.
somebody said something. Why are you? He's like, they killed my dog. I was like, oh.
So now I'm wondering, did those people watch Shooter and have the idea?
They did. They had to tell.
Or did they work on this movie? Because both the guys that did that are stuck.
They said your motivation is they killed your dog.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's filled with great action. It's got the little twists and turns and intrigue and figure out who's behind what. And
There's
blah,
always
blah, blah.
somebody behind this government stuff.
And of course, you got the stereotypical Mark Wahlberg slow motion walking away from something exploding, or just slow motion walking away because he's badass.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg is a good slow motion walk away.
He's good at this
Because
stuff.
he's got that swagger about him. I would say in Bad Taste is he's got this swagger like he could be badass or be a criminal, but that was who he was when he's younger. So it's
Maybe
kind of
that's
factual.
why.
Anyway, I like this movie. But it's just got the 4K release. It's I believe it's available now on 4K for the first time in this nice steelbook
On
edition.
4K Ultra
Yeah.
HD.
So if you haven't seen it, check it out. If you don't want to buy it, it is on the Netflix.
There you
Check
go.
it out on Netflix if you don't want
And
to buy
then
it.
you can watch the TV show, right?
Yeah,
too?
and the TV show is not a sequel. It's like
its own thing.
yeah, Ryan Phillippe plays the Mark Wahlberg
I
character.
love Ryan Phillippe, by the way.
Yeah.
We don't see
He
enough
still
of
should have been
Ryan
Anakin
Phillippe.
Skywalker.
I love me some
He was-
Ryan Phillippe,
he was up for
and
it.
I wish there was more of him.
You know, he was up for Anakin Skywalker, and he was up supposedly for Captain America.
Hmm.
He's too short for Captain America, but he should have been Anakin.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Well, We didn't get to make
And he's a
that
black belt in
decision.
Taekwondo.
There you go. That's all we needed
All right,
to know.
moving on.
All right.
Go to wherever.
You want to
do
go
this?
here?
This one was last week. If you want to talk about
Oh,
that
let's
now.
do that. Okay.
All right, so this next one is a movie we were going to talk about last week, but we didn't get a chance to finish watching it. It's called
Correct.
National Champions. It's got an insanely good cast in it. It's got
that guy right there, J.K. Simmons.
It's got J.K. Simmons, Stephen James, who I believe is the black gentleman, Alexander Ludwig, who you like from Vikings.
Yes.
Lil Rel Howery, never can say his name right. Tim Blake Nelson, Jeffrey Donovan, David Koechner.
I love Jeffrey Donovan.
Timothy Oliphant, Kristen Chenoweth. Whatever. Kristen, she gets on my nerves. And Uzo Aduba, who I love.
Aduba.
Huh?
Uzo Aduba.
In the movie,
Beautiful.
she is the black lady that's trying to...
The lawyer?
Yes.
I love her.
To really throw it
By
off,
the
because I know
way.
she was the crazy lady from Orange is the New Black
Oh.
that I used to show you with all the...
Oh, yes.
That's her.
Wow, because she's so not that in this one.
No.
She's super uptight lawyer lady.
Yeah.
Love
And she has one of the
her.
best scenes of this whole movie.
that monologue where she's
Yes.
like, "You don't know me.
Yes.
You don't know what."
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
I know.
See, I didn't have to tell you which one it was. 'Cause
girl.
so the premise of the movie is it's interesting because it's a look into the world of college football, but it's at a different angle. And this
Yeah,
story,
there was actually no football.
yeah, there's not a single football game in
Which
here.
I was like,
really.
okay.
The premise of it is it's like 2 or 3 days before the national championship game, and some of the players essentially go on strike, and they're fighting about the financial sides of the game of students and the coaches and the what are the people called that give money to it, the boosters and all those people that make millions and millions and millions of dollars off the college football stuff, and how the players essentially not so much them making money, but where they're left at after the end of college, where some of them get the NFL, and so they make millions of dollars a lot of times. But what about the people that don't make it? They put their body through all this stuff and they get nothing.
Correct.
I'm conflicted about their argument.
Me too. I mean, I get it.
I get what their argument about, but also that's kind of comes with what your choice are. So that's essentially what the movie's about.
I mean, so our main character here, he goes on strike, and
he's the star player.
He's the star player, and he's anticipated to be the number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
And start off at $35 million or whatever his first year. But he starts the strike, not really so much for him, but on behalf of everyone else, because his argument is like, okay, yeah, they paid for you to go to college. They pay for your room and board. They pay for your food. They pay for your class, all this stuff. But you're injured or whatever. And if you don't get picked, you're left basically with a broken body, and you might make a team like
and it's
whatever.
Essentially the same story that happens to the NFL players when they leave the NFL, on if they don't end up making the big bucks, or if they don't end up getting that announcer gig, or if they end up getting hurt and can't play anymore. It's kind of the same idea, but on the college level.
Yeah, because
he has a personal connection that you learn through the movie that makes sense, his argument, and I sympathize with his argument, but I don't agree with all of it.
I kind of agree in the sense, because if you're an NFL player and your time's done, you don't get repicked or however that whole thing works, you've at least been paid for your time. His argument here is like, you're a college student required to go to all your classes, but your football is technically a class, yet you're required to be there like a full-time job, the number of hours in the morning and the afternoon and all these games that you don't get paid for.
Here's where my argument is. You are paid for that, because most of the people that are on this team, their entire school is paid for.
Correct.
Because of their game. So they're being paid because of what they're doing. So their board, their books, their school, all the stuff that they have to go to, and the football they have to do, they can choose not to play football and then pay for school. Or they go to a smaller school. That's kind of the burden of what this is. And that's part of my argument is it's like if kids in elementary school, or let me just say high school, start saying, well, if the teachers are paid, we should get paid for showing up too. I understand what they're saying and the burden on their body, but you chose to do that knowing the burden that's going to be on your body. And a lot of the burden on your body took place long before you got to college. Because if you played that well, and then it's rougher, obviously, in college.
Right. but one of the funny arguments is the guy brings that up. in the form of like, aren't you literally, isn't this just a modern day slave trade then?
Yeah.
You're saying in exchange for me giving you the big house to live in and some food, I'm going to make you play football, but then with the promise of, oh, I'll let you be free once you get to the NFL. That's the argument that actually comes up in this movie. And I'm like, oh, dang.
The guy's answer to
I'm like,
describe
just shut up.
was right, but he should not have said
like,
what he said. And that's the
uh-uh.
argument of throwing that mentality. And see, that was a baiting statement, because to try to compare that to slavery, because slaves didn't have a choice. The football players have a choice. They can say, I'm not going to play football anymore. And
but that was the insinuation. Is like, I'm giving you a place to live and food, but you're going to work for me.
That is the thing. It's just like if you go to your regular job. Like my dad worked at Kraft in a factory for 40 years.
Yeah.
His hearing is shot. His, I'm sure his allergies, his back, his legs, or whatever, tired from standing in these machines. He has
no sense of smell anymore, which is why he doesn't taste anything, which is why he used to just throw salt on everything.
Well, and that's the give and take. It's like at any point my dad could have left Kraft. He wasn't forced to stay there. They were paying him to come to a job. Did his body suffer? Did his hearing suffer?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm not saying that's okay,
no.
But you're being paid for a job and you go there every day. And if you're there 40 years, you knew you had an option.
Yeah.
He could have quit and got a job somewhere else. He didn't want to. He didn't want to start over. And I get at some point. That's my issue with this is I don't think students should be paid. Because that your payment is, if you're paying, now it would be different if you're paying everything you do for school, and then you're being forced to do all this stuff with football as well, and then you have to have a job to put yourself through. That's a different discussion.
Yeah, and I think that's the point of J.K. Simmons. He's the coach. He gives this monologue, this wonderful speech about it's not really about the money. The money doesn't matter. The money will come. He's like, but the thing is like living the glory of your life now, because this is what you love to do. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
And I think you can really get that because like you're kind of broken now. But you love what you do. You love your martial arts, so you would never stop.
No, and what I did is I found an alternative. I can't compete like I want to anymore. I can't do a lot of the techniques. So just like he talks about, he was never successful as an NFL player like he wanted to be.
Right.
So he became a coach. You can become a coach. You can become a physical therapist to those people, the sports people. You can become a trainer. You could take those skills and do something. There's the mentality of people like, they think his argument is not invalid. It is a valid argument. And maybe they do need to look at the health benefits aspect of it. That I agree with.
Yeah.
Because if the student going to pottery class every day is not at risk of getting a concussion.
Right.
So if you put them in a sports program, then yes, I think they should have some kind of a medical coverage. Maybe not life, but if you end up with an injury that's at college football level, then it should be taken care of life. It's a lifelong
like a
injury.
Workers' comp.
Yeah, that I agree with. But the whole financial aspect and with this and that is like
they do bring up something interesting about the financial things. Like the coach is making $5 million with these 3 houses. Is it really worth that? Because the players don't see it. In the NFL, I mean, the players get paid a lot, but I don't think as much as like owners or promoters or coaches or whatever. I don't know.
It depends.
Maybe it's different.
Because even in the NFL, there's tiers of. There's players that don't make millions of dollars a year.
Right.
They may make $400,000 or $500,000 a year. It's still a lot of money.
It's a lot for us normal people.
And there's some of them that come out of college, they're a star player. They make 1 year and then they crash and burn their first year, and then they're nothing. You never hear from them again. You never know.
Yeah.
But that's why I've always thought there's always been the argument of these people that go, they should always have that backup major, so they don't end up thing. But if you put all your things in one basket, whose fault is that? It's not the school's fault. If you chose, I'm doing this football thing because I need to go all in.
Yeah.
I applaud people because sometimes that's the only way you can be successful, so go all in.
Go all in.
But that's why you hear about a lot of football players that they got out there, they didn't get the NFL, they didn't do whatever, so they find another job. They find another path.
I mean, there's no other option.
And if you find the time to put in work, however you have to do it, it can be done. It's the problem too is the mentality of how much work do you want to put in stretch. It's like, think of almost every person you see that was successful in anything. There's this hard story that they tell how they got there. It's never Well, I should have. I mean, there's these stories, but my first day in Hollywood, I got signed on to an agent, and I started this big movie, and I've been making $1 billion ever since. Most of them are worked 35 waiting jobs and lived on the streets, and you get to hear. If you want to hear anybody's story, listen to The Rock for 5 seconds and anything. He'll tell you the same goddamn. I had $7 in my name and lived in a car, and it's the same story over and over, but it's true. And football, he's a prime example. If you want to talk about him, his football playing, he never got picked up. Then he jacked up his leg, couldn't keep playing, so he went in with the family business of the wrestling. That took off. He spun that into the movies, and you can say, well, that's what. But now he's become an entrepreneur of his tequila. He bought that football league. He's diversifying to constantly plan. Jay-Z, I'm not a huge fan of his rep, but he's become this mogul. He's part owner in NFL stuff. He's the reason we got the halftime show we got this year.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it if you play the game the right way. And college is where it starts, but at college level, you're in the mailroom.
Well, and that's what the Uzo Aduba character is she comes head to head with this guy, and she's like, I know. She's like, you don't know me. She's like, she knew the same struggle of him, but she's like, I followed the rules and I did what they told me to on my scholarship.
You take your platform
and you take it and then you work. And she's like, you're doing this completely the wrong way. You're taking your scholarship and now you're trying to create this whole protest. Like no one's going to play. She's like, just follow the rules and you'll get there. But he's like, no, he wants it now.
Then the kind of issue is he's fighting a good fight.
Yeah.
And with good intentions. But you also look like, it goes back to one of my arguments about protesting Disney or protesting movies or whatever the latest protest is going to be, is you might be protesting for one thing, but how many other people get hurt in the process because they can't afford to protest.
Yeah.
They can't afford to walk out. They can't afford to take a chance of losing that job or not getting to play that game.
It's like, yeah,
because there's a point in this where the whole game is going to be forfeit if they can't field a team. That means all those other players that aren't interested in your protest are going to get screwed because of one person's selfish mentality of not really saying, because that's one of the things I thought was an issue. They didn't discuss it with the rest of the team before. They just went with it. And then it caused chaos. Had they discussed with the team, it probably would have solved the problem a lot faster. So there's a lot of twists and turns and elements. My biggest issue with the movie, I thought it was an interesting movie. I didn't find the movie as a whole, despite sparking a debate, I didn't find it as impactful as I thought it was going to be, like powerful. Outside of her speech and J.K. Simmons' one speech, I never found a speech in the movie outside of those two that really was like, man, that gets you. I feel it, And then it kind of abruptly ends. Did you feel that? Where it goes to that moment where,
like, I was wondering if there was going to be something afterwards, like, because then I feel like it just faded to black and the credits go, and like, I feel like I'm waiting for like one more thing.
Well, there's almost like a non-resolution. Like it gets to the point of, are you going to play or are you not going to play? Then when you see the final scene that tells you what happens, it seems like there's no resolution, which I don't know if that was a metaphor for life of like, people do these fights all the time for nothing.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter at the end. Or if it was something else, and that kind of got lost on me there. But
anyway, well, it's an interesting movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I believe I believe this was a stage production of some sort. I'm not mistaken.
That's interesting.
Which is interesting that this one is and the outfit's not.
The outfit should be.
Yeah,
definitely.
But check it out. It's available now on Blu-ray and DVD, and you can decide for yourself.
There you go. Next, where do you want to go?
I don't care.
You want to go here?
Why do you have a trailer? Oh.
That's the only picture I could find that was
That's fine, whatever you want.
You want to go there? Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, it says trailer, but that was the prettiest picture I could find with the team laid out the way I wanted.
All right.
So whatever. Okay, this one is a documentary series. Not a series. It's just a documentary film.
Directed by Jillian Jacobs from Community, which I did not know until it was over. There you go.
And it's available on Disney Plus right this moment. You can go watch it after the show. And it's called what? More Than Robots.
It's not called What More Than Robots.
I kept trying to say We Are Robots. I kept saying that all weekend. It's More Than Robots.
What's it about?
It's about these teams that are school teams.
These teams that are more than robots.
That build robots for competitive robotic. It's robotics teams.
Yeah.
Now, this reminded us of that George Lopez movie that we
Spare
saw.
Parts.
Yes, not long ago, about a poorer team in somewhere in
Somewhere in
LA,
California.
and how they were competing for these robotics competitions, which was based on a true story. Well, it's interesting because in here they bring up a school that's in Watts, who obviously doesn't have the financial backing like a lot of these other schools, who have to kind of scrap for parts. They have to figure out how to make it work. They don't even have a room. They work in the hallway of their school building. So you see that, but then you see other schools that have a little bit more funding. And the interesting thing about this particular competition is that the schools kind of come together, because if you can specialize, like even if you're a poor school, but if your robot specializes in this one aspect that you know you're going to need in this competition, then another school may be like, I want to work with you. And then they all share kind of resources together, which I thought was such a cool idea.
I think on the surface, this is actually a pretty generic documentary. It's not overly exciting. It's interesting. It's engaging. Seeing them discuss and really seeing these kids, especially these kind of socially awkward people.
Poor babies.
And like there's one kid who talks about how he sees things and how this is this and this tree means 4 and this is it's weird.
I've only seen that with musicians.
Yeah, and seeing it through this kind of thing and seeing how they're the thing. But what I really found intriguing about this movie wasn't even the main plot with the robots and the competitions and all that stuff, is that this movie takes place at the beginning of the pandemic. And during the thing, without giving away, is when we start dealing with the pandemic stuff. So seeing what direction it takes because of the pandemic, which I find really intriguing through so many different projects, whether it's a movie or a documentary that has taken place there, and that how they've handled shooting films and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, what they do with the robotics and how they deal with competitions and stuff during the pandemic was really interesting.
It was, because we get it, everybody's getting ready for the competition. You get all invested in these games that they're going to be playing. The theme for the year was a Star Wars rescue thing.
Yeah,
so
look at some of the things, that
so
Force
cool.
for Change thing they were doing that year.
And then the pandemic hits, but then you see they switch. They start using the robots or the computer skills to start building PPE for people and face shields and masks.
So many different things. That became interesting.
This is so cool.
Which is interesting because they talk about how the entire importance behind this robotics thing isn't the robots. It's about these people, these children learning to cooperate to work together, because not one person can make this robot work.
Yes.
They need this guy who knows coding. They need this guy who knows engineering. They need this guy who knows wiring and how they can work. They learn to work together, and they learn socializing while trying to create something that's better for everyone. And that kind of shifts into the mentality of not only the COVID stuff, but even the competition, like the people that lose and the people that win and how they treat it. It's not like you see the people in the football games or these other ones, they're throwing helmets down and they're crying, or these people are like, man, we really did a good job, or at least we made it this far. And seeing how they build as people, because they understand that the losing wasn't a loss. It was a chance to be better. Like, how do we fix what we did?
Something.
Yeah, okay, this didn't work. Now we know how we got to
fix it.
Yeah,
they were calling it a collaboration, because it's a collaboration and competition, but it's really about the working together.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the people that won were excited.
Yeah, they have.
And the people that lost were sad.
Because these people, the way this works is you have your robotics team, and in there you have your engineers and your builders and your programmers. But then on top of that, you have colors, you have a mascot, you have a team flag, and then you also have one aspect of it that they're required to do is they have a community outreach portion of your team. So the other thing you have to be doing is community service work. He's dead. So dead. Someday you'll be dead. Anyways, so they have to do this community outreach thing. And so that's the other cool thing about that is they went more, once the COVID hit, they went more into community outreach and like, how can we use these skills to help other people?
Yeah, because it wasn't even like, it wasn't like adults asking them to do stuff, to fill it. They didn't make it one part of the class. They said it was, they were talking about, one of the people were saying it was how interesting it was to see how instead of them being so upset about stuff being canceled that they could no longer do, they immediately shifted their brain focus on what can we do to use what we know to fix things.
Yeah, so they were immediately like zooming and they're like, okay, what can we do in the community? What are y'all gonna do? What can we do?
Yeah, and it was things from like anything from like a podcast that was just to help bring people together for the socializing to building the face mask.
They
or,
had one little robot that was just doing food delivery,
yeah,
like
it was like
from here to there, so that we can
social
keep social
distancing, yeah.
distancing. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
And you know that we're going to hear in a couple of years, we're going to have something that's going to come out, and it's going to be because of somebody like that. Which is, this is the things that baffle me about people's.
Sorry, I'm all on top
That's
of
okay.
you, but
People's
I wanted
inability.
To be
You're fine.
sideways.
I don't care. People's inability to figure out things like the vaccines or the machines or ventilators or anything else. How they're like, well, I don't understand how they could suddenly make something so fast. It's because you have people like this. Like there was one kid on there that was building ventilators.
Yes.
Because from the same robot technology, they figured out how to design a ventilator.
They would just go
to build a ventilator for areas that didn't have them.
So you could put the bag that somebody would have to be doing that just does this for it.
Yeah, and it's like,
I'm like, that is genius.
It's like they didn't have years to do it. It was not because there was that one smart person that figured out how it already works, how my stuff can work with it, and make something new. And that's
like, I have no idea how to make a robot that does anything. I mean, I have an R2D2 that does this. And it runs into things.
You can't even operate it.
And these guys are all like,
it's really just intriguing to see.
Amazing.
Not only this, but it's also interesting to watch them, how they just talk and how awkward they are, but how.
But they find their people.
My favorite thing anytime we're seeing these kind of people, the smart kids that sometimes are socially awkward. And I'm not talking about people that have a problem. I don't think anybody here even had a problem. I think they were just.
He was just so into math and the love of math that he couldn't connect with normal people.
Yeah, and he might have had some Asperger's or something. Who knows?
Who knows?
None of that is talked about in this, and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But I love, like, there's a scene. It had me cracking up because I know people like this, that they do this big introduction. It's like, in this corner of this team thing. And it's these three kids, and they had, like, clearly practiced the dance from there that they were going to do when they introduced them. But it's literally like, they're like. And it's like, that's the extent of the thing, because that's how energetic they are about things.
So cute.
And even when they were excited, like there's a moment where there's a whole group of high-fiving people, and they're like, because that's just, they're so introverted with the way they do things. It is. It's interesting to see that. But then knowing that people make fun of those people or do something, but they're
going to be the ones that save the world.
But the only reason you got something like this is because of this kid. Not the kid that ran the touchdown.
No, I know. No. And then there's one other interesting story is there was a foreign exchange student from Japan who when she was here, she got into the robotics team. Well, when she goes back home to Japan, there's no robotics team. So she starts her own. And she's like, you go, girl. Because she's like, I never knew that a woman could be an engineer.
Yeah.
And she's like, now I do. So we're going to. So she started her own team. And she figured out how to get it going. And now there's like 8 teams in Japan.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you go, girl.
It's a fun, interesting little movie. And it just still baffles me. Jillian Jacobs directed it.
And then after that, go watch the movie with George Lopez.
Spare Parts. I don't know why she can't remember the name of this movie. I don't know where you can watch Spare Parts, but find it somewhere.
I'll find out. Next movie. Okay, we got this one, and that one.
I don't care. Pick one.
Ooh, let's talk about this.
All right. This next movie is one I really was dreading watching.
Really?
Because if you look at the poster and the look of the trailer,
like a Lifetime movie.
It looked like a Lifetime movie. And I'm like, oh my God. And I will tell you this. It feels like a Lifetime movie, even when you watch it. But I really enjoyed this movie.
This movie was so cute.
This movie kind of was a little too what?
Spare Parts is available on HBO Max.
Okay, this movie is a little. Who was that in there?
It was George Lopez and
Jamie Lee Curtis and Marisa Tomei. Oh, cool. The problem with this
based on a true story.
The problem with this Rescued by Ruby movie is hit a little too close to home on this dog.
I'm gonna post pictures of her behind the scenes. Y'all need to see this dog.
The whole story, and this is a true story. It stars Grant Gustin, who we now know as The Flash, and also Scott Wolf. Is it Party of Five? Party of Five,
and he's also currently the dad on the Nancy Drew TV series on the
now
CW.
He's Party of 50.
Wow. He plays a dad now on my show, so I'm like, oh my gosh, what has happened?
The premise of the movie is this guy who's are they in Canada?
They're in Canada, eh?
So he's a Mountie or whatever. He's a police officer, whatever you want to call him. And he wants to be in the K-9 unit. And he keeps struggling to pass the test or get a dog or whatever, this and that. And then Ruby, the dog, is this dog that high energy, super excitable, loving, excitable dog that they're really having a problem getting anyone to adopt her without bringing her back.
Aw.
Not because she's mean, because she's just too high energy. She chews on things. She plays around everywhere. She dumps on things. So basically,
This guy.
Sabine.
Yeah, she's
These
over
two
here
kind of come in
snoring.
contact. He brings her home, and it's kind of very
Where are these photos?
a big ultimatum, because it's a case of if Ruby gets brought back one more time, she's going to get put down.
Yikes.
He's only got one chance to get to try for this K9 unit, or it's done. So it's kind of a story of these two people needing each other to move forward in their life. And it's interesting. He has some social issues, some anxiety issues.
The guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't pull at the heartstrings and on that level and play up too much of it. They just kind of make a couple minutes pass, and his mannerisms, you understand that he gets really nervous and kind of
He's
awkward.
super nervous.
But they never
There we
tried
go.
to spin it into this preachy message about, being on the spectrum or issues, which is good. It made it work the way it needed to work. And the dog is like crazy town.
Yeah.
So
Super crazy.
the first half of the movie is like you're watching something like Beethoven, which is a dog kind of chaotic.
It's so funny.
It's funny, and it's heartwarming. It's stressful. I was worried if you were going to get stressed out, but the dog,
No, I wasn't.
or have PTSD from this dog doing the same thing.
That's what I really have.
And did she watch? Were you watching it while she was in the room with you?
Yeah, but she was being calm, actually.
See, you were
surprising.
seeing the future. And then on the other side of it, you
I hope
have
so. Hope so.
the training, the montage stuff, trying to get her to rating, and then you also have the actual kind of adventure
Mhm.
element later on.
Mhm.
And it's got probably one of the best twists in this kind of movie I've seen in a while that probably made you
Yeah,
cry.
I cried. I was ugly crying.
So
at
what
the
did you think of
end.
this movie?
I really enjoyed this movie. I was like, I was like, meh, I don't know if I want to see this movie. I don't really care about the Flash, but I do like dogs.
Yeah.
But I was like, he's a Mountie. I'm gonna have to make Mountie jokes. I'm like, I guess. So but I started watching it, and I was in because I do connect with the story, and I feel bad when dogs don't find their forever home and they
Yeah.
don't find their people, because that's exactly what happened with Sabine. Like, someone adopted her and they brought her back the next day.
And we
then-
don't know how long they found her on the street first.
Yeah, they found her out there. So maybe somebody had her and kicked her out because she's hyper,
Yeah.
but she's a baby.
And she's also the sweetest dog ever.
She's such a cuddler, and she just wants to be like next to you and lick
Her
you.
issues are jumping and barking, but not barking like just standing in the living room barking. Barking at you usually when she wants your food
She wants attention.
or
She
something
wants
like
to
that.
play.
Yeah, she's
She
not a
wants to be
bad
with you.
dog. She does have some social anxiety issues of being alone.
Separation.
So
anxiety.
she has to be kenneled when we're not home because she will tear stuff up. But when we're home, she doesn't touch anything. She's perfectly well behaved. She doesn't pee in the house. She doesn't get in the trash every so often. She tries to.
Well, I mean, what dog wouldn't?
And
Our
the
other
problem,
one
I
does
know.
too.
And the problem is she's extremely smart. Like, she opens a trash can on her own.
She knows how to open doors.
She opens doors.
It's bad.
But
It's
anyway,
really bad.
so there's so much in this movie that
About our dog.
I just kept thinking about her. Like, I was upstairs watching it in the middle of the night while I was working, and she come walking up. I'm like, I'm watching your life story, fool. And I'm like, but now I'm watching it not only for this movie, is I'm watching, okay, when they do stuff with this dog, I wonder if it'll work with this dog.
Yeah, like some training.
You know,
things.
and she's well trained, but she's still spazzy.
Anyways, but no, the movie ended up being really good. It was very interesting about the training that they do have to go through to be a rescue dog, because they're trying to find missing people or dead bodies or all sorts of gross stuff, but not get distracted. And like, this dog in the movie loves hot dogs,
Yeah.
and so then they're waving around hot dogs to make sure you don't get distracted. And of course she does, because she's like, "Ooh, hot dog!" And then that's
Yeah.
like me, squirrel. So I thought it was really good, and it does have some good twists there at the end. It is an emotional story. I did cry, but I really, really liked it at the end, and it wasn't too lifetimey for me.
It felt very Lifetime for me, but not
Not in a bad way.
Not in a bad way, like the normal Lifetime movie. It felt like a big budget Lifetime movie, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I finished watching, I'm like, immediately I was like, you have to watch this.
Yeah,
one,
you
'cause
did.
You're gonna like this one. Don't let the poster, because the poster looks very much like this is a Lifetime Jesus flick. It has nothing to do with anything in this movie.
Oh, poor
But
things.
it's
really good.
It is. It's good. It's a good family film. It's got a lot of it's got the heart and the drama and all this stuff. I don't know how many times you cried, but my single feeling was affected at least once.
Oh, that's
Um,
good, babe. I'm glad because that rarely
I was like,
happens.
huh, and then I moved back on when I was doing. And then, were you happy with the way they handled the true story element?
Yes, because this is based on a true story. I'm like, OMG, at the end, beautiful, beautiful ending.
All right, so it's available now on the Netflix.
There you go. Go check it out.
Rescued by Ruby.
Okay.
It's not about a movie about somebody that found some rubies. And
we have 2 more to
all
go.
right, pick one.
Which one do you want to talk about? This one?
Whichever one you want. Whichever one you're picking.
Let's just go here, and then we'll go.
Which one did you pick?
Pick this one.
All right.
Okay, this movie is called Master. It's available.
Master. Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
Okay.
Thank you for knowing that.
Yes, I do. I know my Metallica. Master. It's available now on Prime Video, and it stars Regina Hall. I wanted to say the other one. Basically, this is the story of this lady, Regina Hall, who's made a school headmaster at this college. It's one of the oldest universities in the United States. And she is one of only, I believe, 2 Black or African American professors on campus. And there are also, from what I could tell, not that many African American students. And we focus specifically on one.
Yes. So there's interesting the way it talks about it. It says it focuses on 3 ladies.
3.
In reality, it only focuses on 2, and one of them is kind of a important side story. The headmaster and the student are really who this movie follows.
But the third one
is in there.
It's important to know.
Yeah, she's important to the story. She's in and out. We're not really seeing her story, but her story evolves.
We get
and
the
it is
story.
very important by the end of the movie.
Correct.
So the movie is kind of billed as like a horror film because it's dealing with like hauntings and legends and
little supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
A little haunting.
But let me tell you, that was the biggest issue I had with this movie. It's like,
really?
The movie's good. It's very clever. It's poignant.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to say.
Poignant, yeah.
I know. I just want to say poignant because it has to. Never mind. Anyway,
I got
it's sadly way too topical, dealing with racism and identity and a lot of different elements. But the horror element, the haunting, whatever part of it, is almost a waste of time. It isn't because this is not a scary movie in any shape or form from the standpoint.
It's a little creepy.
From the standpoint of the horror element, it's not scary. It's scary, the truth of the movie. That's the scary part. And I think that was by design, but this same movie could have been made without all that other stuff and dealt with in the same fashion. It was very minimalist, and it felt like, to me, it felt like they were sucking us in from the genre element and using that as the catalyst to push the story forward, to kind of make you question things. And then reality kind of say, okay, we're done with that. Let's give you the truth. And then it went into what it was. That's how I got out of it.
Well, and at one point though, okay, so the hauntings or whatever is the haunting of the student Jasmine, who is sleeping in the haunted dorm room where someone has died. And you find out several someones have died in this room. So in that aspect, I don't know if it was so much horror, if it was her having a psychological response to being told, "Oh, you're
that's what I'm saying.
The only Black girl in this haunted room." Yeah, they put you there on purpose.
But then they play that up with Regina Hall as well.
Then her haunting, though, I'm wondering, did that even really happen? Is it psychological? Also, it could just be psychological. Or could it really be haunted?
There's actually a blink and you'll miss it moment at the end with a main character that could be revealing everything.
Yeah, but
if you don't notice it happening, you'll never see it. And then that'll never be clear if you don't see it. But
then again, I mean, in my mind, this is just me and my personal belief. I feel like, so Regina Hall's character is the master. We'll get to that in a minute. She's living in like this old style plantation house, which had slaves in it. There's a photo that she finds of the original owners, and in the very back corner you see the slave lady in the kitchen, like in the corner. Yeah. But then you also know, because it's one of those houses that has the bells from each room down to the servants' quarter in the basement, where they would ring the bell when they wanted something. And throughout the movie, the bell will just ring.
Yeah.
And it's kind of creepy, and weird things are happening. And I'm of the belief that I think those places really are haunted, or at least, you know, because of what happened to these people, they may have been treated badly in the house. And there's one time where the other black professor says, well, you're just here because you're the house N word.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to this house where the bell's ringing, like they're calling her because she's the only black person in the house. And I'm like, this feels awkward. And then that's where we turn into this other topic.
Yeah, in the movie, like I was barely into this movie, and she was at work, and I'd asked if she watched it yet, and she said, yeah. And I'm like, man, the white people in this movie are on my nerves, you know? It's like,
and then that's the topic we get into, the horrors of slavery, but then also, I guess, the modern day horrors of prejudice and
like
specifically racism, because these
but
poor
also-
ladies are like the only ones there in a group of people who don't understand.
and there's one major twist that we don't want to spoil.
Yeah.
But it actually is ripped from the headlines.
Ooh, girl, I was like, that was
probably the most clever twist
that was clever
to the film, because, like I said, I didn't hate this movie. It's actually really good, and if you read my review, it probably comes off like I don't like it, but it's a very good movie. I just think the horror element was kind of wasted, and to me, it kind of muffled some of what they were trying to tell. But I understand why they did it this way. It was on purpose, so you didn't immediately just connect this to this. It let it kind of unfold and create what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like kind of like Get Out, from a standpoint of it's dealing with the horrors of racism and the double entendre name of the movie,
Master.
That's college,
because they're calling her Master, and I'm like, ew, that's awkward.
And there's a lot of discussions like, oh, you must be really proud because you're the first black this. It's constantly, you're the first black. It's being said like we know it's a big deal.
Like you should owe us because we made you the first black master of this
I was
school.
uncomfortable initially. Like, stop saying she's the first black. We get it the first time, and she should be very proud that she's the first black this thing. But okay, white people, stop saying it.
There were many uncomfortable moments, and I think that's the point of the movie, to bring us to that level of discomfort and awareness. I agree with you. Some of the horror aspects aren't fully fleshed out because there's moments where Jasmine, the student, is now researching these deaths that have happened on campus, and we see her reading these books and these notes of these other people that have passed, but then she opens this photo and we never see the photo really. And I'm like, if we had seen that, and then we saw this other person later that might have connected the whole story.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I think when they were writing this movie,
they're like, this will be cool.
They had this idea of this,
but they didn't finish
the racial issue and then this haunting issue, and let's merge them together. And then they somehow dropped the ball on one to keep fleshing out something else.
Yeah.
And it could be something got cut on the cutting room floor for time. It could have been budgetary. It could have felt stuff like, well, this seems to be slowing down. They don't really need to see this, depending on.
Yeah.
But sometimes the problem with the perspective of that is sometimes you as the creator understand what's going on. So you cut something out thinking, okay, they don't really need this and whatever. But us as the person that haven't read your original script, we don't always know.
Yeah. I wish we could pre-screen things like when they're doing the first cut.
Yeah.
And so it could be like, okay, well, what happened with this?
And sometimes it's the studios that say we don't need that. That's the way
that's too much.
They know that here already, but it's because they've now seen them both. They know the thing. So if they cut it out, they're not questioning because they already know what's connected to what. And who knows?
I don't know. I mean, overall, it's a fine movie. I do think there's some elements that are left unexplained and they leave you hanging. I think it's fine. It's important to see, I guess, for the racial issues and to make
it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong, it is a good movie.
And I mean, she's great. Regina's Hall, great. But I mean, she's great in everything.
I mean, this is no scary movie, but she's the one in scary movie, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. I mean, I think it's good. It's important. I would watch it. It's on Prime Video, so it's available to you.
But so if you want to check out a movie, it's like just go into it kind of with this open mind, but understand
it's not as horror.
No, it's not scary at all. But it is scary.
I felt like it was going there at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is going to be good, and then it kind of
drops the ball of that, but turns into something that's terrifying because it's real life.
That's the scariest thing of all. Is real life is actually very scary.
Right.
Anyways,
but I think I mentioned it to you. I will give props to the horror genre because they seem to touch on more topical situations than almost any other genre.
Yes, I love that. It's such a good vehicle for it.
Yeah, because it infuses, like Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is very heavily on homosexuality, and this movie dealing with a lot of racial stuff. The new Candyman dealing with a lot of the racial stuff, and Get Out being that way, and then different things like dealing with mental health with social, all of them deal with mental health, but dealing with multiple personality situations and
Well, and
different
even
things.
you have some that can even be comedy, like the guy that's showing you how to be a serial killer. What's that movie? That's such a funny movie.
Behind the Mask.
Yeah, but it's a horror-esque, but it's that. But even, this, I told you, this reminded me of the new Scream movie where the guy's like, what's your favorite scary movie? She's like, oh, The Babadook, because it's such an interesting take on this. And he's like, that's not a scary movie. There's no blood. It's little slasher and boobs. That's a scary movie. But it's not anymore.
Yeah.
It's so beyond
elevated
that.
horror.
So, like, to me, one of my favorite, which I don't think it's a scary movie, but you tell me it is because it's cult-based, I guess, is my...
it's classified as a horror film.
Yeah, is the
Midsommar.
But to me, that's such an intriguing look into loss.
That's not a scary movie, but it's a terrifying movie
because it could happen.
Be real?
But then, like a Hereditary or whatever, it is kind of creepy, dealing with family issues and also dealing with loss, and then it takes you on a whole different journey. Like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. So it is interesting,
and when you add a little bit of life horror into something,
yes,
it can change the entire tone. Like the new Batman's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Of turning the Riddler, love it or hate it, turning the Riddler into a character that could really exist is way more terrifying than a Riddler running around with
total
his little
serial killer.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think that's why I like horror and why it's one of my favorites. And so, like I talked to someone like my new boss, he's like, oh, well, what kind of movies? I'm like, I'm like mostly horror and romantic comedies, but horror to me can be so many things. It's slashers, but it could be werewolves, it could be vampires, it could be an intellectual look into, whatever's happening in the world.
It's always intriguing when you look at some of the most scary stuff. The scariest parts of those movies are usually the people.
It's people. Humans are the worst thing in the whole planet. So we destroy
everything.
That's
kind of the entire point of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The zombies aren't the problem.
It's the people.
Anyway, moving on. The Master is available now on Amazon Prime.
No, Prime Video, not Amazon.
Yeah, it's not called Amazon Prime. Prime Video.
They get mad at us when we say that.
They do get mad if you call it
Somebody's
Amazon
gotten
Prime.
in trouble.
I get in trouble numerous times.
All right. We're to our last movie of the day. One of the highly anticipated ones by Mr. B here. Lord have mercy. He's like, Ana de Armas, Ana de Armas. Okay.
Shut up. It's a movie called Deep Water, which is... starring Ben Affleck.
And purposely I put a shirtless Ben Affleck because I'm like, forget Ana de Armas. We're going with shirtless.
Dare you, sir?
Post-Batman Ben Affleck. He's still looking good.
It's Ana de Armas, Ben Affleck.
And he likes Latinas. So I'm down.
You like what?
He likes Latinas. So I'm down. He knows what's good.
But the movie is actually directed by Adrian Lynn.
Who's Adrian Lynn?
Adrian Lynn did 9.5 Weeks, Fatal Attraction, and Jacob's
That's
Ladder.
what I told you. I'm like, this feels like that one with the rabbit.
Yes.
And you're like, Fatal Attraction? He's like, it's the same person. Oh.
Yep, and, Jacob's Ladder.
Yes, I remember that. Long time ago.
He's kind of, Jacob's Ladder's not, but 9.5 Weeks and Fatal Attraction are very much
I felt like
erotic thrillers. That's kind of what this movie is. It's about a married couple who have a very strange relationship. That's really all I can tell you. There's not a lot of twists and turns per se, but there are. A lot of it's pretty front and center, but it also tries to kind of throw you off course a little bit to make you think, well, maybe it's not this, but while always saying it is this. It's interesting. Like, if you watch a movie about, somebody killed somebody in a movie and it's like, this guy did it. We're going to tell you right now. And then 5 minutes later, they give you just a nugget to say, or did he? And you're like, oh, okay. It was and then you come back, you're like, no. We told you this whole time. It was this person. That's kind of how this movie is. It isn't as much of as an erotic thriller as you expect it to be from the position of the way they promoted it. It has a sex scene where it shows her boobs, but all the sex is implied. You don't see sex. Mm-hmm. Whereas like you see in 9.5 Weeks and Fatal Attraction and these sexy scenes but it's a little bit of an uncomfortable movie from a standpoint of you just always feel awkward watching it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not,
I guess it's because you're kind of,
you're seeing it through his eyes, really.
Yeah, and you're in this state of disbelief, what the heck is going on? Why is this happening? And I feel like even when he does something, he's like, why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing, why?
And I can't even say
on both sides.
I can't even say this is a good movie
Yeah,
But it's not a bad movie either.
I'm torn
It's
because at
kinda-
one point I was just so angry with her and her character. I'm like, I just don't like you. Like, why? And I'm like, ugh, this
But I
is
think that-
horrible.
Here's the thing: is we talked about this briefly. Is I think by design, and I saw another reviewer talk about this, which kind of helped me balance in my own stuff. Is they mentioned how they thought Andy Armas was all in with this character. She just was over the top. She was doing all this stuff, and Ben Affleck felt like he's just walking through the motions. But I think what's actually happening is he
has shut off.
She's being the crazy over the top character that she is in the movie. Ben Affleck is a character who is just tired of it all. He doesn't know what's going on half the time. He's in disbelief.
I
And
think he
in
has shut
turn,
off his emotions.
I think the uncomfortable, awkward, angry, what's going on feelings that we get as an audience are his feelings.
Correct, because he's trying to continue on with his happy life, knowing all these things are happening, and people are coming to him and telling him, which is the worst. But he's
he already
trying to be like,
knows.
it's okay, everything's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're fine.
It's not a situation like she's doing things he doesn't know about.
There's one shot. I told you, there's this one shot of his face where he's just like completely like
Yeah,
not
like nobody's
even there.
home.
It is beyond anger, sadness, grief, whatever. It's like just like mm-mm.
Well,
And
like
I was like, oh dang.
there's this ongoing thing in the movie where he talks about somebody he murdered, and you never really know if he actually murdered anybody because it comes up. He goes, "I was just kidding about that," and this is something that happened off camera before the movie ever happened.
Yeah, we never know about.
But
this.
he uses the statement a lot because somebody had died. And with him, and I think you said, if I remember correctly, somebody was arrested for the murder. So he wasn't even a part of it. But he tells somebody, he's like, what if I did kill them? And then everybody's like, did you? He goes, yes, I did. And everybody becomes thinking, well, I heard you killed him. And so it starts making him seem like a creeper.
Yeah.
But then you start seeing other things like, okay, well, he didn't do that. He's not doing that. But then you're like, well, wait a minute, is he? And then there's so many angles.
So bizarre.
And there's so much here and so much not here at the same time that when you leave the movie, you feel like to me, there's multiple levels you're going to feel. You're going to either leave this movie being just as baffled as when you went in. You're going to leave the movie angry because there's no real resolution to anything. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to leave the movie being him. Being like, I was stuck watching that and this was it. And
I was irritated.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's one of those movies that I think people are going to really connect to or they're going to despise.
I was irritated. Now, for me, you know who the best character in this movie is? Is that little girl.
The daughter?
I loved her.
She was annoying, too. I'm surprised you liked her.
But I liked her because even through all of that stuff, she was so aware of what was going on.
Yeah, because she was like, she would make these subtle jabs at her mom, she knew her mom was crazy. And she knew her dad, she really loved him.
But he was kind of off the rails, too. And she's like, why did you just tell me the truth? She's like, you can trust me. You know, I love you. Tell me the truth. And then there's one point where that's talking to him. But then when she talks about that, she's like, why does mom act like a different person when this and this? I'm like, this kid knows what the hell is going on.
And then she keeps playing what is the song? Is it Old MacDonald?
Old MacDonald.
And
Alexa, play Old MacDonald.
She just does it to annoy her mom.
I'm going to go see if Alexa will do that.
She just does it to annoy her mom because her mom's like freaking out. Because it's confusing when that first scene, then they do that. And she's like, turn that over. And he's like, play it again. And the dad's kind of snickering because he likes it. It's annoying the mom. The mom's all mad. And they look around. And at first, you're thinking, that is a little shit of a kid. Mm-hmm. Then you realize she knows her mom is not a good person. And she's doing it on purpose to torment her.
She knows the state of her mom at that moment, like her condition.
Yeah.
And so every time, if you notice, when she comes home like that, she starts
annoying her,
on purpose.
Anyway,
so it's intriguing.
It's one of those that I recommend.
It's
but I can't tell you if you'll like it or not.
I don't know. I don't like her.
I love Ana de Armas.
I don't like
Maybe
her.
not like her in this movie as the character.
I don't like her at all in this movie.
But she is amazing, and she had a very lovely scene in this movie that I enjoyed thoroughly.
Lord.
It's an interesting parallel to this movie, though, because for those that don't know, before Ben Affleck ran back to the J-Lo booty, him and Ana de Armas were dating after making this movie. So
because they were all naked together.
They got together in this, I guess, after making this movie. They were together through the pandemic for 2020. This movie got delayed, and then it got bumped down to Hulu. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of an interesting parallel to like the relationship of these two characters and how these two people went through a relationship together, split up, and then the film got put in a different place, all leading up to the film finally getting released. I wonder how we would have felt watching the film knowing they were still together and seeing that parallel, because they have good chemistry
Yeah.
on screen, so you can see how a relationship bond formed between them because they're dealing with some heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also see how it may not be a stable relationship. So it's intriguing how that parallel to real life.
It's interesting. He's better with J-Lo.
And I'm waiting for this to crash and burn.
Just don't get married, because when J-Lo marries someone is when it falls apart.
Or
Just stay dating.
Or they make Jiggly.
Yeah, just stay
Hopefully
dating.
hopefully they'll make Jiggly too.
Whatever. Just stay dating. Deepwater.
If you want to check it out. It's exclusively on Hulu. I can't say that you'll love it or hate it. Just you got to watch it and figure out. You may not even make it through it. You may get to the end of it and be like, "Oh my god, that is crazy good."
That's crazy.
You may come out of me like, "What the hell did I just watch?"
That was me. I was just like, "What?"
I came out of it was like, I think I enjoyed this movie, but I'm also highly irritated with a lot of it.
I was irritable,
and I don't understand why I watched it.
I was irritable.
So, it's a lot of it gives you a lot of feelings, but that's why
that's the point of a movie.
The movie should do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's my turn again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So moving on. It's kind of a light week. Coming out, Millennium Actress, which is an anime film, is getting the Steelbook edition. The Flight of the Phoenix is getting an anniversary edition of some sort. The Godfather Trilogy 4K is coming out,
the day of my
which
death.
not only has Godfather 1 and 2.
I want to watch all of them.
It has the Godfather Coda, which is the new director cut version of Godfather 3, and the original theatrical and director's cut or extended cut of the original Godfather 3. So you basically get all three versions of Godfather 3 and Godfather 1 and 2, and then a plethora of extras.
And I think we decided we liked Coda better.
Coda is so much better.
It provides so much more. Did you ever watch Coda? Yes, okay. I watched it with you, I think. And it provides more at the beginning and in this middle and in the end.
It's not that much more footage, but it's rearranged and adds some stuff that wasn't there before.
Maybe I didn't watch you with it, but I watched it, and it made so much more sense.
Yeah, it's Coda. If you haven't watched Coda, it is a way better movie.
Just watch that one.
Don't just watch that. But yeah, but this new set, 4K
no,
set,
instead of the original.
There's also a deluxe edition box set that has like a book and all kinds of stuff you can get. That's out. Dexter: New Blood, the complete season. Just in one season, it was the new revival Dexter series, which is clearly
really good.
Unless they decide to spin it off. It is aptly titled New Blood. It makes sense why it's titled that way if you haven't watched it. So that'll be available. And one of my favorite films of last year, Nightmare Alley, is going to be available on 4K Blu-ray DVD, as well as I'm assuming it'll probably hit Disney Plus and some of the other ones soon.
Okay.
Because Disney Plus is starting to bring on the adult content on some of them, because they have a new setting on there where you can do TVMA or whatever, mature.
Yes.
So like they just added all the Netflix stuff, the Daredevil, Iron Fist, what is it? Luke Cage, Jessica Jones.
Yes.
The Defenders, The Punisher, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. All those shows are now on Disney Plus, but you have to change your settings to TVMA. Or you won't be able to see them.
Did we finish all the Jessica Jones?
No, we did not watch season 3 of Daredevil. We did not watch. We didn't finish Jessica Jones. We didn't finish Luke Cage. We didn't finish Iron Fist. Well, we could have finished it on Netflix too. I just stopped because they stopped making them.
Now we can't.
But now there's talk about revival some of the stuff. So
nice.
I did watch both seasons of The Punisher.
Nice.
So I didn't watch Defenders because you got to watch the other shows, because Defenders is the team up between the other 4 characters.
This is too much.
Anyway,
it's too much.
Nightmare Alley is amazing. You should watch it.
All right. Coming out at the theater or on the line. Coming out on Thursday, the 24th on Netflix, there's a little movie called Love, Like the Falling Petals.
The hell is that?
It is like a little romantic movie.
Oh, that sounds like trash.
Okay. Coming out nationwide on Friday, the big movie of the week is The Lost City, starring Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, Daniel Radcliffe, and Brad Pitt doing this.
Which I'm baffled why they're showing him in the trailer, because it looks like it's supposed to be a cameo surprise thing, but he's in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler.
Oh, well.
That Infinite Storm, is that limited? Because that's a big one they were trying to get me to do.
Infinite Storm starring Naomi Watts. If it's near you, you might want to see it. It's a blizzard's coming. They got to get out kind of movie.
They were asking me to review that.
We'll watch that. And that's kind of it, really. That's kind of sad until next week.
Oh, we've got a lot of stuff, because I've got a couple of Kung Flu. Sorry, not okay. Kung Fu flicks, the old school Shaw Brothers, Shaolin Mantis and Monkey Kung Fu that I'm watching right now. We've got a couple other movies, the Requiem Shark movie, The Pursuit, and something else. So we'll have some stuff to talk about next week.
Don't worry. Because this week we talked about like 7
Don't
movies.
you worry.
Don't you worry about a thing.
All right.
We always have enough to watch. Don't worry. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Hold on.
We're going to the contest now.
You forgot.
I did almost for 1 second.
Jerk.
But
So
I'm
we
gonna
have
throw
a few new ones and some that have still been here for a little while that we
Hold
still got
on.
copies of. So we got copies of this movie called 645 that we'll talk about next week. That's a horror flick.
Horror.
As well as King Richard with Will Smith.
Okay.
Movie Invincible that I talked about last week, which was basically Silent Rage, but Marco Zaror. Green Mile on 4K, which I love. The Long Night, which we did talk about on this show a while back.
It's a little bit weird.
Yeah, we got copies of that to give away on Blu-ray. And finally, Matrix Resurrections.
There you go. All right. Well,
That
I think
is
that's
all,
it.
my queen.
Well, I thank you, kind people, for watching our show this evening. Don't forget to go check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Go to that contest page for all the free stuff. Check us out. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like, thumbs up, send stars, send smiles, send everything. And tell everyone you know.
And I forgot, I'm going to bring in here, but I already hung it up in my home dojo. I got to go to the Retro Expo this weekend, and I got to meet Ken Scott, martial artist, an actor who played Raphael, the Ninja Turtle, in Ninja Turtles Part 1 and Part 2, The Secret of the Ooze. And I got to put somebody in their place because they were advertising it before I got to go. And if you go look, the person commented, he didn't play Raphael in the first movie. This other person did. So I had to chime in and say he was the stunt double for Raphael in the first one, and he played Secret of the Ooze in the second one. And Ken Scott jumped on. He goes, "You are correct, sir." And then when I saw him at the show, he's like, "Were you on Facebook?" I'm like, "Yes, I am the one that corrected." He goes, "Right on, brother." I was like, I don't know why people don't take 5 seconds to read something.
Go
once in their
read.
life.
Go look it up. Read a
But
book.
Ken Scott is a super nice guy. So if he comes to your town, he's very personable. I got a very awesome Raphael autograph from him. He has a book about his career in the Ninja Turtle world. And he's a real life martial artist. And so check him out.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week.